Hello, everyone, and happy National Zoo Lovers Day! Today's story is If I Ran the Zoo by Dr. Seuss. Fingers crossed I can get through this without tripping up. It's a pretty good zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, and the fellow who runs it seems proud of it too. But if I ran the zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, I'd make a few changes. That's just what I'd do. The lions and tigers and that kind of stuff they have up here are not quite good enough. You see things like these in just any old zoo. They're awfully old-fashioned. I want something new. So I'd open each cage, I'd unlock every pen, let the animals go, and start over again. And somehow or other, I think I could find some beasts of a much more unusual kind. A four-footed lion's not much of a beast. The one in my zoo will have 10 feet at least. 5 legs on the left and 5 more on the right. Then people will stare and they'll say, "What a sight! The new keeper, Gerald's quite keen. That's the gold-darndest lion I've ever seen." My new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will make people talk. My new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will make people gawk at the strangest odd creatures that ever did walk. I'll get for my zoo a new sort of hen, who roosts in another's hen top knot, and then another one roosts in the top knot in his, and another in his, and another in his, and so forth, and upward and onward, gee whiz! Whew. But that's just a start. I'll do better than that. They'll see me the next day in my zookeeper's hat, coming into my zoo with an elephant cat. They'll be so surprised they'll all swallow their gum. They'll ask when they see my strange animals come, "Where do you suppose he gets things like that from? His animals all have such very odd faces. I'll bet he must hunt them in rather odd places." And that's what I'll do, said young Gerald McGrew. If you want to catch beasts you don't see every day, you have to go places quite out of the way. You have to go places no others can get to. You have to get cold and you'll have to get wet too. Up past the North Pole where the frozen wind squeals, I'll go and I'll hunt in my Seagullmobile. And bring back a family of what do you know? And that's how my new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will grow. I'll hunt in the mountains of Zomba-Matant with the helpers who all wear their eyes at a slant, and capture a fine fluffy bird called a buster, who only eats custard with a sauce made of mustard, and also a very fine beast called a flustard, who only eats mustard with sauce made of custard. Whoa! I'll catch 'em in caves, I'll catch 'em in brooks, I'll catch 'em in crannies, and I'll catch 'em in nooks that you don't read about in geography books. I'll catch 'em in countries that no one can spell, like the country of Matafapatafapel. In a country like that, if a hunter is clever, he'll hunt up some beast that you never saw ever. I'll load up 5 boats with a family of jotes, whose feet are like cows but wear squirrel-skin coats, and sit down like dogs but have voices like goats, expecting, whoa, they can't sing the very high notes. And then I'll go down to the wilds of Nantucket and capture a family of lunks in a bucket. Then people will say, "Now I like that boy, heaps. His new zoo, McGrew Zoo, is growing by leaps. He captures them wild and he captures them meek. He captures them slim and he captures them sleek. What do you suppose he will capture next?" I'll capture one tiny, I'll capture one cute. I'll capture a deer that no hunter would shoot. A deer that's so nice he could sleep in your bed, if it weren't for those horns that he has on his head. And speaking of horns that are just quite queer, I'll bring back a very old family of deer, a father, a mother, 2 sisters, a brother, whose horns are connected from one to the other, whose horns are so mixed they can't tell them apart, can't tell where they end, and can't tell where they start. Each deer's mighty each deer's mighty puzzled. He's never yet found if his horns are hers or the other way round. I'll capture them fat, I'll capture them scrawny, I'll capture a scraggly foot multi-good 20, a high-stepping animal fast as the wind, from the blistering sands of the desert of Zend. This beast is the beast that the brave chieftains ride when they want to go fast to find some place to hide. A multigatawny is fine for my zoo, and so is the chieftain. I'll bring back one too. In the far western part of the southeast North Dakota lives a very fine animal called the iota. But I'll capture one who is even much finer in the northeastern part of the South Carolina. When people see him, they will say, "Now by thunder, this zoo, McGrew Zoo, is really a wonder." Most beasts are quite friendly, but still in some lands, some beasts are too dangerous to catch with bare hands. For those that are ugly and vicious and mean, I'll build a bad animal catching machine. It's rather expensive to build such a kit, but with it a hunter can never get bit. A zoo should have bugs, so I'll capture a thrall whose legs are snarled up in a terrible snarl. And then we'll go out and capture some chugs and some mean shooters, and beam shooter bugs. I'll go to the African island of Yurka and bring back a tizzle-toppled, tuffled merca, a kind of canary with quite a tall throat. His neck is so long, if he swallows an oat for breakfast, the first day of April, they say it has to go down such a very long way that it gets to his stomach by the 15th of May. Whoa! I'll bag a big bug who's very surprising, a feller who has a propeller for rising and zooming around making cross-country hops from Texas to Boston with only 2 stops. Now that's sort of thing for a bug just stops. And when I've caught him, then the next thing you know, I'll go and capture a wild tic-tac-toe with X's that win and the zeros that lose. He'll look mighty good in the zoo of McGrews. I'll bring back a Gesset and a Gherkin and a Gasket, and also a Goochick from the wilds of Nantasket. And 8 Parisian princes will carry the baskets, but what their names are, I don't know, so I don't ask it. In the cave of Khartoum lives the beast called the Natch, that no other hunter's been able to catch. He's hidden for years in his cave with a pout, and no one's been able to make him come out. I'll coax him out with a wonderful meal that's cooked by my cooks in my cooker-mobile. They'll fix up a dish that is just his to taste. 3 chicken croquettes made of library paste, and then sprinkle with peanut shucks, pickled and spiced, then baked at 600 degrees, then iced. It's mighty hard to cook up such a feast, but that's how the new zoo, McGrew Zoo, gets the beast. Whoa, tongue twisters all around. I'll go to the faraway mountains of Tobolsk, near the river of Nobosk, and I'll bring back an obosk, a sort of kind of thingamabosk, who only eats rhubarb and corn on the cob. Then people will flock to my zoo in a mopsk. McGrew, they will say, does a wonderful josk. He hunts with such vim, and he hunts with such vigor. His new zoo, McGrew Zoo, gets bigger and bigger. And speaking of birds, there's a Russian Poloski, whose headski is redski and belly is blueski. I'll get one of them for my Rooski McGrewski. Zewski McGrewski. Then the whole town will gasp. Why, this boy never sleeps. No keeper before kept what he keeps. There's no telling what this young fellow will do. And then, just to show them, I'll sail to Catrue and bring back an each cook a freak and a pro and a nurgle and a nerd and a sea sucker too. I'll hunt in the jungles of Hippo no Hungus and bring back a flock of Bippo no Bungus. The Bippo no Bungus from Hippo no Gungus are better than those down in the Dippo no Dungus and smarter than those out in Nippo no Dungus. And that's why I'll catch them in Hippo no Gungus instead of those in Nugus and Dungus. And people will say when they see these bips bounding, this new keeper, simply astounding. He travels so far that you think he would drop. When do you suppose this young fellow will stop? Stop? Well, I should. But I won't stop until I've captured the Fizzama Dill, the world's biggest bird from the island of Gwark, who only eats pine trees and spits out the bark. And boy, when I get him back home to my park, the whole world will say, young McGrew's made his mark. He's built a zoo better than Noah's whole ark. These wonderful, marvelous beasts that he chooses have made him the greatest of all the McGrewses. Wow, they all cheer. What this zoo must be worth. It's the gold darndest zoo on the face of the earth. Yes, that's what I'd do, said Gerald McGrew. I'd make a few changes if I ran the zoo. Well, thank you for sticking through that story and my fumbles aplenty. Dr. Seuss can be such a hard read, but they're always so much fun. Have a great day.